Hi, everybody. Dan Stolbarger, Middle East update, the end of November. It is Friday, November 28th, and we're going to look back upon the events that have transpired specifically in Israel, the Middle East, over this last week. We always jump into our news bites, and so let's take a look. Hamas. The Hamas terror organization is, believe it when you see it, but is considering separating its political wing from its military wing and joining the faction of the Palestinian Liberation Organization. Again, don't believe anything Hamas says. It's just another tactic to keep their survival alive. A lot going on. Israel security, including the IDF, Shin Bet, border police, they've launched a large-scale counter-terrorism operation overnight. And this is important for you to realize. The threat is not just, it is a threat. It's not just Lebanon or Hezbollah. It's not just Hamas in Gaza. It's not just Iran. It's not just the Houthis. It's not just the Syrians, but right in the homeland, the center of Israel is the West Bank. And that's as dangerous as any of those other places at this time. Northern Samaria, we have to keep our eye out on what's transpiring there. Iran is not going to go away quietly in the night. They've been rapidly and aggressively accelerating their ballistic missile production, kind of at the speed of light. And we hear those sabers rattling once again. And then the reality of this deal with Saudi Arabia and Trump, and we're starting to hear some fallout concerning that. But through the eyes of Israel, the selling of Saudi Arabia F-35s endangers the closeness that ties with Israel. And finally, Mike Johnson. I admire this guy. He acknowledges that some Americans support Israel for biblical reasons. That's me. But he stressed that the relationship is strategic as well. And from his perspective, it equals, or if not transcends, religious considerations. So that's our news bites for this week. And now we'll jump into some of these shaky ceasefires. I have 3 that are mentioned, but we can go on because I've already mentioned at least 5 different threats to Israel. But Israel's preparing for a renewed conflict. The 3 ceasefires appear showing strain with Hamas, obviously with Hezbollah. They continue to violate the ceasefire terms. And as we've mentioned, Iran is rebuilding its ballistic missile program. And now we have this event that's transpiring in Syria. While we were in Israel, we were able to be briefed by our friend Ilan Shulman up on the border of Syria. And the one thing that he stressed was, do not trust Giuliani. Do not trust Syria at this point in time. And we're already starting to see threats of invasions coming from Syria. Now we're talking about the rise of Hamas. We'd like to think that they're spent, as we've mentioned, maybe trying to morph their way into the PLO. But this report out of Israel, according to the assessment, 13, this is called the Rise of Hamas, 13 of Gaza's 25 municipalities have returned to Hamas. Full activity. They're being run by Hamas. This was from Israel Station Channel 13. Israel securities are emphasizing that Hamas has reestablished its presence in the minds of the Gazan people. The fact that they've survived is their claim to victory in over all of this. Hamas police officers are once again deploying checkpoints, and the organization's repairing key infrastructure. Roughly 10 days ago, Channel 13 reported that Hamas had resumed operating checkpoints and collecting taxes from truck drivers. So the rise of Hamas. As I mentioned, Syria, can't trust Syria. Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, reveals that there are forces in Syria that want to launch a ground invasion into Israel. According to him, these forces in the country include the Houthis, who've made their way up there, are considering carrying out a ground invasion into the communities of the north, much like what transpired on October 7th. So we're keeping our eyes on that as well. The Druze, the IDF has already, in a sense, let the Druze know that if anything were to happen, they will intervene, they will block the border, because as you know, the Syrians hate the Druze. And let's talk about something positive here for a moment. The country of Hungary. Hungary has made it clear that they are standing with Israel. They are defying, in a sense, the tide of what's taking place in the European Union. 12 European countries have pivoted to recognizing a Palestinian state, voting against Israel at the UN since October 7th. But Hungary is charting a different path. The country continues to back Israel consistently and rejects what it sees as reckless political signaling. It's a bold stance for Hungary. Budapest, the first priority remains their security, their stability, but they want a real diplomatic process. They do not want symbolic moves. They want to be known as standing with Israel. We have the return of Dror Or. This was on Wednesday, November 26th. The kibbutz, close to Sderot, Beri. The fact is now that there are no more hostages in Gaza from the kibbutz Beri that took so many casualties whatsoever. Keep in mind that Dror Or, as terrorists were rampaging through the kibbutz that morning, his wife Yonat and their teenage children Noam and Almond, they hid in their safe room. But after the terrorists set fire to their house, they escaped through a window, and then they sort of split up. Yonat was murdered, as well as Dror. The kids were taken captive as well, but they were released. Now they're orphans or whatever. But Dror Or was just brought back and laid to rest in Beri. We must never forget what transpired. And now we're down to 2, and I've given you on the slides here. Remember, along with the YouTube, there is a link for the PowerPoint slides here. There's 2 that are left. Ron Gaveli is an Israeli police force man that in a sense fought, was killed, and his body was taken captive to Gaza. And then one of the workers of the field from Thailand, I can't even come close to pronouncing his name, he still remains a hostage. His body remains in captivity as well. So then we're now down to 2. But as I mentioned, we cannot forget what transpired. When we hear about events that are going on, like in Syria, the threats that are there, one of the commentators in Israel from an organization called Jewish Life, Matt Tardillo. I just saw this on his website, and I wanted to kind of conclude to this. He said, I just watched the unedited videos from October 7th that have not been released to the public. And I had to sign a non-disclosure act, an NDA, before watching it. So don't compare Hamas to ISIS or the Nazis. They are a new level of evil. I can only hope one day that they will be completely unmasked. What took place there, we can never forget, and the threats continue to this day. Muslim Brotherhood, President Trump just signed an order to label parts of the Muslim Brotherhood as terrorists as they helped attack Israel on October 7th. Yeah, you have to understand, these are the same radicals who back Hamas, Hezbollah. They call for violence against Americans and Jews. They've been hiding behind, quote, civil rights in our country while pushing hate and infiltrating U.S. institutions. This isn't just about Israel. It's about your safety, your kids, your country. Just a synopsis. The Muslim Brotherhood operates as a global network, spreading radical Islam through charities, student groups, prisons, while secretly plotting political influence and supporting terrorism worldwide. And I've given you a couple slides at the very end, just again, not that I'm, let me just go through them. Take a look. Trojan horse, right? What's happening in our country today? What's taken place? Hamas is not just coming, Hamas is here. Muslims in Dearborn, Michigan are calling for a revolution after the tragedy of just what happened with National Guard troops that were shot in DC. And Sarah, the woman, has been, now it's revealed she's now dead. She was killed by a Muslim that was shouting what? Allah Akbar. They take to the streets after one of their own. They attack their host countries militarily. This is what we're facing today. So, you know, we can either take the approach of wanting to stick our head in the ground, the ostrich approach, or we can, in a sense, take a look around and be proactive in the day in which we're living. So anyhow, that's our update for this week. We'll kind of resume the video updates now that we're back from Israel. And just always a reminder to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray the Jewish eyes would come to know Jesus, Yeshua, as their Messiah. Pray for wisdom for our leaders, both for President Trump, for our Congress, for Bibi Netanyahu, for the Knesset. Pray for wisdom to know how to, in a sense, make our way through the turbulent times in which we're living. God bless you, and shalom.